in the bag, ideas to flow. Steph and Joe on the go, go, go. Sharing what we know from the classroom to the show. It's Steph and Joe on the go. Innovation, education, moving fast with dedication. Come along, let's start the flow. It's Steph and Joe on the go.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, morning, everybody. Hopefully your school year is going great. Steph, we talked a little bit last time about taking a break, right? You know, we are so difficult at taking a break.
Yes, I actually want to pick up.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, being in a school district, you're kind of forced to take breaks, right? Because of like spring break and winter break. So I just got over spring break. We had it very late this year. And I forgot how good it is to take about 5 days off in a row and not have to even open a computer. It was fantastic. When is the last time you took an offline approach to for like 5 days in a row? What would you say, Steph?
Probably in the school system, because we were talking about this, how difficult it is now that I'm working from home. And now that I work year round, and as a company, you don't get the same breaks. And so it was funny when Joe, oh my gosh, I finally, everybody is off. Typically, everybody is off at a school district. You might just have like a couple administrators working. But I mean, when I was an administrator, it was very quiet that time when everybody was gone, teacher-wise. And now that I work at a company, people take off, but it's different times of the year. So I always still find myself like that FOMO of like, what did I miss? What do I need to follow up on? And I'm like, no, Stephanie, you're off. So I've been really struggling with this concept of like, you do have time off, but how do you set those boundaries? And so Joe has been in that experience as well. So we were kind of sharing how when everybody is off at a school district, how nice it actually is because nobody is emailing, nobody's working. I mean, there might be a couple of everyone's working.
Yeah, it's extremely odd. You know, I kind of, put it up to kind of if you are, doing work or you're focused on something and you take a deep breath and realize you haven't breathed in like 5 minutes, because you're just so entrenched in work, and you finally take that big deep breath like, oh my goodness, is that the first breath I've taken in a minute? That's the way I felt on this break. Like, oh my goodness, I actually get to breathe and I feel good and I'm gonna rest. It's a very interesting feeling coming from industry like yourself, Steph, where you have to take your own breaks. And even when you take your own breaks, you're still working because people aren't on break and they're going to need things and you're responding to emails. So even when you're on vacation, your mind is not on vacation. And so this is the first mind vacation I've had in like 10 years. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. And again, like just when you're thinking about it, like sometimes that is a blessing, right? Like I definitely took those breaks for granted when I was in a school district, where now I'm like, dang it. Like I sometimes would have worked and done things, but I don't know. Really consider that if you're still in a school district, really be thankful for those breaks.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I bring it up, because I want to segue into kind of our topic for today, and that is micro credentials, right? All of these different apps that are out there and all of these different tools, they usually come with like little micro certifications, like, oh, you like our tool? We'll take our teacher certification. You could be level 1 certified. Are you good at that? You can become level 2 certified. Like there's a lot of companies out there that have these micro credentials, and I think they're pretty neat, right? They vary depending on the company. Some of them are really in depth and require you to do a lot of studying, and then others are just kind of surface level, just so that you can get your feet wet and feel accomplished by getting a badge when you're done in about 20 minutes. But it really does help expose you to kind of like the inner workings of some of these tools. And then also maybe some ideas on how to use them you never thought of. And the reason I bring this up was because even during my break, even though I didn't have work, even though I didn't have emails to respond to. I did occasionally take a peek at some of my favorite tools to see if there was a new micro credential available. I don't know. I just find it fun, right? It's almost like Pokemon. You want to collect all the badges. What's your experience, Steph, with micro credentials? Because I know Cami has their certification process, which is really great. But I know you have also done a lot of those as well. What are your thoughts on micro credentials and taking the time during your own break to maybe look into them and collect some of them?
Yeah, I was a huge fan of micro credentials and being part of those communities, because for me, it was about the updates. I wanted to be the first in the know when it came to updates. I wanted to be invited. Sometimes you get NDA meetings with engineers. Sometimes you get to go to an actual office that the company maybe works at. The after events at ISTE, I've always wanted to be a part of that. So I think for me, it was a lot of the fear of missing out. Oh my gosh, I need to be a part of all of these different communities. But when I first started with EdTech, there were a couple. And now I think every company seems to have something, right? And now I'm like, oh, I gotta kind of be particular on which one I want. And I'm running out of how do you remember what the requirements are to renew? For Google, you have to have, I think it's 10 trainings a year. But for another company like Cami, for their trainers, you have to have 4 a year. It's okay, I'm going to start to need a spreadsheet to remember what are the requirements that I'm supposed to keep up with, because it can become a lot as well.
No, you're absolutely right. I had a friend who used a spreadsheet to keep track of all the different credit card rewards that they would have. This month, this reward is 10% back. So I'm going to use my card all month here. And it was absolutely insane. I could imagine somebody having to create a spreadsheet on their micro credentials. Okay, in 2 months, I have to make sure I report up to 10 trainings for this tool. Oh, but then this one, I have to do that. Or is there a session I can do where I app smash and I can say that's a training for this tool and that tool? It becomes almost a job in and of itself. And I think that's where you get into kind of the pit of these, because we have to remember the micro credentials, while getting a badge is fun, it's learning a little bit more about a particular tool. And mostly because, as a tech coach, you have no idea what you're going to be asked. So the more information you have about every tool, I think is the best. But you do start going down that rabbit hole of, oh my goodness, am I going to lose my badge? Am I going to lose my status? And, it starts to become a burden, and you really don't want that to be a burden, right? You want it to be fun, because I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about community, right? When you find that community of educators that are just super excited and super innovative and just really helpful, oh, it's like you've hit the jackpot, right? So to me, it's not necessarily the credential. It's about the community that comes along with those credentials. And we actually both got selected for another innovator program, right? Because we're both Google innovators, but we also got selected for another one, and that's the Adobe Certified Educator Cohort. And we just found out about that. We both got selected this week. So what is your thoughts on that selection process and how you went about applying for the Adobe certification?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of app battles with Melissa Kincaid, and she was Stephanie, you need to get more into this Adobe community. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was that, I had it, but then I didn't keep up with it. So again, it was I forgot to do, I think, trainings, or I think with their program you earn points. So that was it. I forgot to do it. I got out of the program, and now I was like, okay, I'm going to retry to do this. And so with that program, what I love is I feel like at ISTE and at PCA, they would do Adobe photo walks. And somehow I'd always get the invite. I don't know if it was just for their community or anybody was invited. It seemed like anybody was invited for those. but I was like, oh my gosh, I do love their community aspect. They really do value and love teachers. And that's just something that I appreciate. And so I've gone to their photo walks, even though I wasn't a ACE. And I really started to take part in that community. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to apply again. Hopefully I remember to keep everything up. But we'll have to see. I'm excited for it though, because it seems like they stay connected. And I think that's another thing is, does the community, and I guess it depends on you too, does the community that you are working with or supporting, do they have meetups? Do they stay in contact? Do you want that, right? I'm a person that does like that. I like getting those emails, knowing kind of, okay, what is happening, what is not happening, knowing what events are taking place. Like I do like to be in the know of that. But I know some people are like, oh, this is too much communication. So I don't know. I prefer more communication than not enough.
No, I agree. You know, having that inside information, even if it's just a couple of days before it goes public, does really help you kind of craft a message for your staff or your followers for when it does drop. And I do appreciate many different organizations that do that for its, I guess, certified kind of members. But you're right, Adobe does do it very well. And I have to say, and I think it's because the people they have hired on their education team are true educators, right? They are true innovators. They are true people with creativity in mind, but also with collaboration in their heart, right? Like Lindsay Blass is an amazing individual, and she helps lead one of their community teams. Martin Cisneros, he is an amazing individual. I've known him for over 10 years. And Cosma, oh my goodness, if I had like a twin sister, Ann Cosma would be it, right? Like just knowing that these individuals are on that staff, to me, it's like, I feel safe. Like, oh, they could throw this party in a parking lot and I know it's going to be good because it's those three people are involved. That's one of the reasons I decided to go for this community, is because I trust the people who are running it. And I think you need to have that trust, not only in the tool, but the people, to feel comfortable as being part of a community. Because I'll tell you, this application to be a part of this thing, it was not like something you can do in just one afternoon. You had to sit down and write and think and create. And I love when companies make you work for it, because that means the people that are being selected put the work in. They didn't just do some online test. They didn't just fill out a form and now they're in. Like, you actually had to put your passion forward. That's what the Google Innovator process was. And to me, the Adobe Certified Educator cohort, it had the same, I don't know, vibe of the Google Innovator cohort when I was sending that application in. And it really brought up a lot of cool memories of when I did that 10 years ago with Google. And I never thought I'd feel that again. So I really do appreciate what this community has done so far. And we've only been a part of it for a week. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because I saw, I don't know if I was supposed to see this, but I saw an email from a friend from Brisk. And Brisk was not having the application. So what I liked about their process is they were uplifting educators because of the work you've already done. And so I really, sometimes I'm like, oh, I like that there is this application in place. I really got to show and demonstrate. But it was an interesting approach. So I'm interested to see how the Brisk goes, because I'm like, do you think when you have to fill out an application, you have more ownership? You feel more a part of a community? Where Brisk emailed certain people and they were like, hey, we would love for you to join our program. There's no application needed. You've already done the work. And so they just had to respond with like, yes, I'm in, to the email. So no application there. They just, I guess, maybe looked on social media, who was sharing, who was already maybe top users in Brisk. But I thought that was an interesting approach. And I would be curious to hear your thoughts on, like, do you think more ownership happens when you fill out an application, or when a company maybe values you and seeks you out?
Well, I think there's validity to both. I do think there is a trap you almost fall into when the company makes the selection and you don't really do anything. Only because, like, I use Brisk every day. Okay, I truly do, especially when I'm showing off how Brisk integrates with Google Classroom especially when I showcase how Brisk's Inspect Writing is a great replacement for DraftBack, which went to a paid program recently, right? So I show Brisk all the time, especially to my ESL teachers, to showcase how easy it is to translate documents into another language instantly for kids. But I tell you, I'm not huge into social media right now. You know, I'm not big in posting. I just feel, I don't know. I haven't had that bug to do it like I used to. So I don't really post a lot about Brisk. So how would Brisk know that I use them every day? So that's kind of my give and take. Is it's great to feel wanted by a company reaching out, but I guarantee you there's hundreds of other users that are sharing and doing with Brisk that they're not seeing because they're not posting. And those people kind of deserve to be a part of it as well. So again, I can go either way on that thought, but I think maybe starting a cohort by reaching out first, drumming up some excitement, and then maybe the second round they do an application could be good. That's just my thought with that. But I tell you, there's so many tools out there, and every single tool has its own certification process. Sometimes people don't know where to begin. So, Steph, do you have any advice on educators who are, gearing up for summer in these last 6 weeks? If they want to start doing some micro credentials, how would you suggest to them going about selecting which ones to do and completing them over the summer?
Yeah, I would think about maybe goals that you have for next school year. Is there a certain tool that you really want to support your teachers with if you're an ed tech coach? Is there a tool that you're interested in? And if so, check out the website. Also, time sometimes matters. So sometimes you can't just automatically be in a program. I think for ACE, it only opens up once a year. I could be wrong, right? But I think for them, it's only once a year. For Google Innovator, it only opens up during the cohorts, whenever those are available. For Trainer, it's once a month that they check applications. So I think it's really important to know. And maybe you prioritize that way of like, okay, I know I'm going to get in for this application. It's open right now. But there are certain times where companies will close down the applications because they only want you to apply during a certain time period. So I think that's something just to take note is you might apply now, but you might not hear back because the applications are only reviewed certain times of year, which was, again, interesting for me when I started working at CAMI. I was like, oh, we don't look at applications on an ongoing basis because typically these people have other jobs. So I help the community also support current customers and onboarding new customers. And so because of that, my time for that is kind of like a genius hour where I'm working on the community because it's just my passion. I love it. But we're not looking at it every single day. It's like a genius kind of project that we really enjoy. So I think it's something that you don't realize is some companies, it's not their full-time job. And so because of that, it might not be an ongoing open enrollment. There might be certain times in the year where it is open and you can join in.
Yeah, I do see that. And, I do think, maybe, you're right. I think Adobe only does open their cohort once a year. Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert, they do the same thing. I think that's, closes in July. So yeah, there's a lot of places that do it just once a year, specifically because of what you're saying. The team that reviews the applications and selects the cohort members, they can't be doing that all year long. They have other things they have to do. But then there's other ones that do have kind of the rolling ones throughout the year. But I'm kind of on the same side as you, is find the tools that you use all the time. And if you really feel passionate about those tools, see if they have a certification process in place. I just like to be in the know about everything. And I'll tell you why. I became a school AI insider, right? I became a Magic School pioneer, and people are like, well, how come you did both? I go, I want to know about both because I have teachers using both. I'm not going to pick a side and say, well, I like school AI, so I'm only going to do their stuff. I need to be of service to every educator. So I need to see how every tool operates. But I would also say, one of the reasons I decided to apply for the ACE Innovator this year was because I am truly using Adobe Express nearly every day with elementary students. And before I was not. And so I felt very disingenuous creating assignments or creating activities that no kid was going to be using just so I can get accepted into a program. To me, it just felt very disingenuous. So now that I'm using it every day, I feel like if I did get accepted into the Innovator cohort, that I would deserve to be accepted because I am using it every day. I had the same experience with ISTE certification. When I went through the ISTE certification process, I was not in a classroom. And all of the assignments they were asking you to create and attach to your portfolio, I felt like it was busy work because I wasn't creating it for anybody specific. I felt like I was creating it just to complete a task. And to me, that felt disingenuous. So I didn't finish just because I didn't have that heart in place. But now that I'm in classrooms every day, I think I might, reach out and say, hey, can I, pay the $50, the $100 to open my portfolio again and get it completed, because then I will feel like I'm truly doing it for the right reasons, not just for another badge. And I think that's key. Do it for the right reasons, not just for another badge. Otherwise, you just become a badge collector and have you have like a military style GIF at the bottom of your screen with all these badges that you've collected over the years.
Yeah, and I think it really depends on what company. I would start there with what am I hoping to achieve? And again, like Joe said, make sure it's relevant to what you need. ISTE certification is a great program, but if you're not maybe in a classroom or you're not going to be able to use I think you'll be able to use it hopefully, but think about that too. Is it relevant to what I'm doing right now? If it's not, then maybe I need to hold off and do it in a couple weeks or in another year or two when that might be more relevant for me. So for me, I was looking at kind of what did our district purchase, and based on that is what I really wanted to be a part of those communities. So maybe it's looking at what does my district have, and sometimes there's perks. So maybe there's a tool that you want, but you might not have the funds to fund it. Sometimes if you join as a trainer or a community member or whatever their title is, ambassador, pioneer, sometimes they'll give that tool for you completely free.
Yeah, that's a good little hack right there. I mean, especially with, some of these tools just costing, quite a bit for educational institutions to purchase. An educator might want to just buy a one-off. And if you can't afford it, or you're like, oh man, there's 5 tools I want to use and I don't want to be spending $500 a year on them. Yeah, go and join their group, apply for their group, because you might get that tool used for free for a year. And I think that's very important. And I think we have to also remind people that yes, you apply for these because you like the tool, because you use the tool, but you stay with the community because of the people. Because as we all know, tools come and go, but connections remain. I can't tell you how many friends I still have from the Flipgrid community when I joined them when they first came out, like 2015, 2016, when they were just a little tiny camera, when Charlie just made the little tiny camera recording system for his college class. I connected with them, and that was an amazing community. It started off small and then exploded. And then the tool, reverted to, I think it's hidden in Teams somewhere now. I don't know where it's at, but the community of people I met through that are still some of my best friends today. They are amazing individuals. And so definitely join for the tool, but stay and get connected for the community, because those friendships last forever. And then also like you and I, Steph, we met face to face for the first time at a Google event, and we were a part of different innovator cohorts. So even if you join now, you might meet one of your best friends later because they also decide to join that cohort. So, I mean, life changes because you decide to go after some of these micro credentials. So I think you just have to realize that as well. is it's about connection, and it's about meeting like-minded individuals to kind of reinvigorate to you what it means to be an innovator, to be what it means to be an educator, what it means to constantly show growth in our profession. And I think that's incredibly important, to have people that push you every single day because of what they're doing. And I have to say, Steph, that's what you do to me. You push me because you're always pushing out amazing things. And like, ooh, Steph's got me excited about, what I can make today. And I go off and I try to make something. So I think that's the part of these certification processes I really anticipate, is after you're selected, that's when the fun begins. That's what I get excited about.
Yeah, I think, again, it's building that community of people that you might not typically connect with, because I think, I could be wrong, but it seems like Adobe is very Microsoft. Like their sign up forms was all through kind of Microsoft Teams base, it seemed like. And so I come from a Google world. And so because of that, I noticed that I wasn't connecting with a whole lot of Microsoft educators. And when I started to enter into the MIEE world and Adobe, I started to connect with a lot more Microsoft users. And I'm like, oh, these people are actually pretty cool too, right? So make sure, if that's kind of your goal too, is to just connect. Make sure you're thinking about all of the different areas, because even Apple. So when I think about connection, like the big ones, we've got Google, Apple, Microsoft. Typically schools have one of those three. So if you are Google, maybe go outside of your comfort zone and join a Microsoft type of group, because they're going to bring a different perspective, is what I've kind of found, to what I'm used to. And they're like I had no idea that Microsoft did some of the things that it did, because I was so focused in on Google. So get out of your comfort zone and connect with other educators.
Yes, I absolutely love it. And you know what I would love, Steph? I would love our listeners to kind of send us a note about different certifications they have done or they are aware of. Because I think if we created a database, a spreadsheet of all these different certifications and links to where you get level 1, level 2, and if there's an application-based one, throw that in there. If there's any dates written down, we can put those in. But if we can do this as a group, right? Many hands make light work. I think it'll be a cool little document that we can constantly update and share around, so people can be aware in a one-click fashion what's available and maybe what they want to go for. I think that could be a cool little activity that we get started for our listeners.
Yeah, I agree. So make sure you reach out to us, let us know, and maybe we'll start a sheet or something. You never know, probably a sheet with just different communities and how you can join, because I think that would be very helpful to know what are the communities that you are like to be a part of. And maybe we can even add kind of like requirements once you're in, so that way once you're in what you're getting yourself into.
Yes. But with all the communities out there, Steph, the best one? Do you know the best one?
What is that?
The Steph and Joe on the go listener community. That's the best one, Steph. Those are the people that I trust the most. So I'm happy to be part of this community.
Yeah, same. So make sure you add it to our spreadsheet. That is not created yet, but it will be very, very soon. That what you're joining in and what you like to take part of, because I'm really interested to see what communities you have joined in. Again, all of those requirements, are they worth it? Are they not worth it? What do you like about communities? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know and let us grow together, everybody. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your audience, your listening-itage. I don't know what vocabulary I'm using today, but we appreciate you, everything you do. Educators are, I believe, the most important people in the world, and being able to work with my heroes and do podcasts for my heroes, it's a dream come true. So I appreciate you all. So thank you for listening and joining in weekly or bi-weekly, I guess we would say.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Talk to y'all soon.
All right, bye-bye.